You're live, right? Are you live? You're always on.
I think so. Good evening, everyone, and we wish each and every one of you, all the Jewish people, to be sealed for a happy and healthy new year. And we have been mentioning with what few classes we've been able to give on Rosh Hashanah, the Almighty inscribes in the Book of Life the destiny, the future of each and every human being. And we all have confidence in the Almighty that His judgment is merciful and His judgment is righteous, and that He wants to give us every possible chance to have a wonderful year. We have mentioned for a while that this is a process. It's a process that can be shaped, and that we can actually shape our own coming year. It all depends on our attitude, how we appear before the Almighty during these 10 days, starting from Rosh Hashanah and culminating in Yom Kippur. We mentioned that even this Shabbos is called Shabbos Shuvah, the Shabbos of repentance, because there also we have this special opportunity to approach the Almighty. And this is interesting. Rosh Hashanah is 2 days, and Yom Kippur is 1 day. That leaves 7 days. So on each of the days of the week, of these in between days, we take all, for instance, all the Sundays, all the Mondays throughout the year and re examine how we had used them. It might depend somewhat on our schedule or the schedule that we choose to make and the choices that we choose to make. So as we prepare for Yom Kippur, which is Sunday night for Monday, the laws are very elaborate. A tremendous number of classes are really necessary to cover this topic. What I thought was most important to start with is our whole attitude towards this holiday. On this holiday, there are various things that we are restricted from, and it will sound familiar because there was a fast day during the summertime, the 9th of Av, which was a day of tragedy, which we do not want to look upon Yom Kippur in any way as a day of tragedy. It's a holiday, a happy day, and a festival. What are the things that are forbidden on Yom Kippur? As you all know, we can't eat and we can't drink for Sunday night through until we reach Monday night. Eating and drinking. We don't wash for pleasure. We don't anoint ourselves with various ointments. We don't wear leather shoes. You could wear other ones. We're going to do a little bit of details on some of these. And the marital relationship is not conducted. This list seems to match the same list of restrictions on that very sad day of the 9th of Av, but it's for a completely different reason. In the summertime, we were observing the destruction of the holy temples, the fact that the Jewish people were plunged in exile out of our homeland, all the suffering that went through century after century, various countries that we flee to for safety. We were expelled, God forbid. We were persecuted, and unfortunately, many of us were lost by very severe and cruel rulers. So that was in the summer. And we restricted ourselves from these things that I just mentioned as an expression of mourning, as an expression of not having the normal human delights and sacrificing of some of our pleasures. And our tummy hurt too at some point during the fast as well. This fast of the Day of Atonement is completely different. There is a relationship between them. They all have to do with God's forgiveness, of course. But in the case of Yom Kippurim, people don't appreciate it properly. I want to spend a few minutes doing just that. The Day of Atonement, which means the Day of Forgiveness, in fact, in Hebrew, it's Yom Kippurim, the Day of Forgivenesses. It's in the plural, atonements in the plural, because there are various obligations, we call them commandments, between ourselves and our Creator, and there are various commandments which we have responsibilities to each other. Some commandments only have to do with the Almighty. such as observing the Sabbath, for instance, having matzah on Passover. You don't do that for another person. You can't do it for another person. That's between us not only atoning for the mistakes in which we disobeyed the Almighty with things that have to do directly with Him, but also we made mistakes with God to each other. And on Yom Kippur, we're asking for God's forgiveness. This is very important before Yom Kippur. If you know that you had, unfortunately, a negative experience, I want to say a fight, an argument, a disagreement, or you have perhaps a poor attitude towards another person, now, before Yom Kippur, before Sunday night, now's the time to call up, apologize, whether you were guilty or not, or responsible or not. Now's the time to ask forgiveness. Because if we have, God forbid, wronged another, God will only forgive us if that person forgives us first for what. So, as we say, this is the season, this is the time to ask for forgiveness from each other and to correct. I many times mention this. If you borrowed something and never returned it, look around, because now is certainly the time to return. It might be a book, it might have been a screwdriver, it could have been a drill, it may have been a recipe, whatever it may happen to be that you are supposed to return to someone else. You forgot to, as we're human beings. Many mistakes are human. Also, we make certain commitments we take upon ourselves to do certain things, and God forbid we don't keep them. By the way, the Kol Nidre prayer, which is so solemn on Sunday night, everybody's familiar with that. Non-Jews are familiar with it also. Non-Jewish artists have taken the melody of Kol Nidre and written classical music over it. Kol Nidre is not a prayer asking for forgiveness. Kol Nidre is not confession of sins. We will speak about that, I hope, soon too. Kol Nidre is making a declaration that when I took upon myself certain things, I may have forgotten it, I may have not kept it, certain obligations, they were asking them to be nullified, and future commitments. This does not cover our commitment to other people. You can't cancel a commitment you made to other people, but the things that you take upon yourself, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, those types of things, they could be canceled. And why are we concerned about that? Because one of the worst transgressions in the Torah is not to keep one's word. This is so flagrant today that people do not keep their word. If you get disgusted with the politicians and you see them make promises and promises, and on video, you see how they don't keep their promises. It's not even a question of written in a document. You can watch it on a video how a particular individual made commitments, and then you see clearly that they did not honor their own commitments, etc., etc. They were looking for your vote, and they got your vote. Now I'm sitting pretty. I don't need you anymore. I got your vote. So commitments and keeping our word are a major area to improve for this coming year and to ask forgiveness for those mistakes that we may have made over the past. I'd like to change our attitude about Yom Kippur. I called it a holiday. You have these restrictions. They match the restrictions of the summer fast. That was the 9th of Av. That was where we restricted ourselves from pleasures because it's a time of mourning and sadness. This holiday cannot be sad. It's a happy holiday. It's a good holiday. It's a joyous holiday. So you probably don't believe me, right? It has a big aura of solemnity to it, of course. It's more fun to light the Hanukkah candles, right? The Passover Seder, hearing the Megillah on Purim, the different commandments that we fulfill during the year, sitting in the Sukkah, which coming up soon too, and taking the Lulav and Esrog, etc. Those are nice positive actions that we do during those holidays. And therefore, we rejoice with them. People look upon Yom Kippur as, God forbid, not a sad day. It should not be a sad day. Let me show you and prove to you how it's not a sad day. There were two great holidays during the year that were like tops for the Jewish people. You probably think Passover was one of them. No. Purim was one of them. No. The 2 days were the 15th day of the month of Av, which I'll discuss another time, and Yom Kippur. Those were the happiest, joyous holidays. You probably tell me, Rabbi Schaefer, I think you're a little nutty. How could you call Yom Kippur a happy and a joyous holiday? Well, many years ago, in the time of the temple, listen to this. The girls who were looking for a husband would borrow a dress. Each one would borrow a wonderful, beautiful dress. And that included the king's daughter wouldn't wear a princess's dress. She would have to borrow a dress from somebody else. And they would dance in a circle. And the young men who were looking for a bride would choose their brides on Yom Kippur. What? 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 Everybody's fasting, and we're not supposed to take a shower and wash ourselves and other things we mentioned. How could that be? I'm trying to bring that to show you the proof that Yom Kippur is really a happy day, a wonderful day. It used to be more fun when we had the Holy Temple, which when the Messiah comes, we'll have all this again too. But what I just told you is pretty astounding. What would you be doing dancing all together and picking a bride to get married on a day that seems to be so sad? It's not sad. Why is it not sad? Because it's the day in which we are cleansed, in which we are washed by the Almighty. He does it. He actually does it. If we only have the proper attitude and come before Him, asking for mercy and asking for His help, then He is more than willing to come and cleanse us. When a person commits, God forbid, a violation of the Torah, even a violation of the 7 commandments that the non-Jews have, and certainly we have 613 commandments in our Torah, if one violates them, it's not just that they disobey the Almighty, it's that filth is brought upon the person and into the world. And that filth is the source of the evil things that happen in the world. This was the subject of some of our Sunday Hasidus classes. So when we ask the Almighty to purify us, to cleanse us, and to purify us, isn't that wonderful? Well, let's look for some examples. We don't take a shower on Yom Kippur. That is, we don't take a shower with water, hot water and soap. But we do take a big shower. In fact, we take a dip into the wonderful pool of purification of the Almighty's love, the Almighty's holiness, as He gives us the chance to wash off all of the filth that we have accumulated either the last year or during many, many years in the past. Now, using 2 examples. Let's say you have a beautiful garment, a very nice garment, it got stained. You're a little bit careless, maybe you were at a wedding or perhaps you were at a party, and a beautiful garment. It could be a beautiful white shirt. By the way, white shirt, men's white shirts can be $100 or more, even more. They can be very, very expensive. If you got a wine stain on that, you're not going to be too happy, are you? Well, in order to remove the stain from that or from a very beautiful dress, for instance, sometimes great care has to be taken and quite a bit of work to get the stain out. And once that stain is out, one is overjoyed and the garment hopefully has been restored to its former beauty. You can enjoy it once again and wear it once again. Think of that as our thoughts, speech, and deed as being different kinds of suits and dresses, garments, shirts, pants, whatever fits, that we have gotten them dirty during the past year because we have used them improperly. Here's our opportunity on Yom Kippur, the happy day, not the sad day, but the happy day, in which we can be cleansed of the past if we only regret the past, not only make resolutions to improve, like January 1st is nothing, sleep late and get drunk. No, nobody gets drunk on Yom Kippur. We can't eat and drink, right? That day is reserved to coming closer to the Almighty. Now, let's go into this a little bit more specifically. The eating, drinking, and the washing, even not wearing leather shoes, the marital relationship, which is a big enjoyment for a human being. All these things are restricted, but not as a sign of mourning, not as a sign of sadness, not as a restriction to cause us to suffer, just merely to suffer. What happens in Yom Kippur is we can borrow the wonderful purity and wonderful praise of the angels, as I will mention in just a moment. Where do we see this wonderful purity and praise of the angels? When you and I recite Shema Yisrael, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. The second line is Baruch Shem Kvod Machuso, blessed is the name of the glory of his kingdom, Le'olam Va'ed, forever and ever. If you look in the 5 books of Moses, you will find the Shema, but without that line. Where did it come from? When Moses went up to heaven to receive the Torah from God, he heard the angels praising God. He heard them praying, he heard them davening, as we call it. He heard them praying to God, and there they better be, they better be present, or else they will be out. And when I say out, I mean truly out. So he heard them praising God, and one of the lines he heard was Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusoli Olam Va'ed. Blessed is the name of the glory of his kingdom forever and ever. Well, Moshe took it from them, not with permission. He heard it and he brought it back down to earth. And we recite that line, that's the praise of the angels. We recite it after the first line of the Shema. Well, why do we say it quietly? We say it quietly. The Shema itself, the first line you say very loud, but for Shem Kvod Machuso we say very quietly. Why? Because we don't want the angels to gang up on us, especially on Yom Kippur, because that's our praise of God. A human being took it from us. You guys down there, we didn't even want you to get the Torah. We didn't want you to get this special line of praise to God. Blessed is the name of the glory of his kingdom forever and ever. So during the year, we say it quietly, not to flaunt the fact that it really was their praise. However, one day a year, we shout that line out very, very audibly. Pronounce loud like the Shema. Shema Yisrael. Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusoli Olam Va'ed. Blessed is the name of the glory of his kingdom forever and ever. Yom Kippur, Day of Forgiveness. Are we afraid we're going to irritate the angels, making them upset that Moses took their prayer and brought it to us meager, lowly human beings? The answer, again, changes our understanding of Yom Kippur. When we don't eat on Yom Kippur, when we don't drink, when we don't smear ourselves with nice perfumes or creams, when we don't wear leather shoes,